Hi again, everyone. I'm Ollie Matthews. This is Refuge from Narcissism, and this refugee video is sponsored by contribution from Treasure Travel. And here's another story. Disappearing elephant. I've noticed specific behavior patterns and abusive techniques that are used by narcissists. For the sake of clarity in writing about these patterns and cataloging them as red flags, I'd like to assign specific names. This letter is about a common narcissistic gaslighting application that is so unsubtle, unsophisticated, and childish, it defies logic. I have described it previously in several of my letters when discussing my overt narcissist father, although I have not yet named it. In the last several years, I noticed that my sister was now also employing this specific gaslighting technique. To reiterate about my dad, he would frequently rage like the Hulk one minute, and then the next minute want to play happy family for a sit-down dinner or such. The rest of us were expected to fall in line as if nothing happened. But as an adult, I found this gaslighting to be offensive. No apology, no adult discussion, just everyone indulge Joe. Around age 26, I did once dare to say, in a diplomatic tone, wait, we need to clear the air here first. But of course, in true gaslighting fashion, with the doubling down, I was accused of being overly sensitive and crazy. My sister went full no contact with me 4.5 years ago. But 2.5 years in, she sent me an email at the beginning of the pandemic. In that email, she made no mention of the no contact thing, the elephant in the room. Instead, she just launched into a cheery toned email as if nothing bad had happened. Based on, I love that. I love when they come in and they just act like, oh, we've just been talking this whole time and everything's fine. And you try, like, what? That in and of itself is gaslighting. Based on the email dialogue exchange, she was astonished and pissed that I did not automatically respond positively to the disappearing elephant technique, DET for short. After all, she observed it to always work for our dad. After all, she observed it to always work for my dad. You just decide the new narrative and push it through, sidestepping the obvious. And if the victim of your manipulations does not take your cue, then you double down and make them the villain. Here's the email exchange. Jane. Hi, I'm just checking up on all of you to make sure you guys are all okay. I saw in the news that there is a big COVID wave in your state and was worried about you. So I just wanted to make sure you're all safe. We're all doing well and safe here. I replied, glad you're fine. We are fine. My terseness and failure to just automatically launch into friendly dialogue pissed her off, as evidenced by her reply. Well, your thing should have been spam. Spam. This is what everybody has. Everybody has email. You have email. Everybody has a spam folder. As soon as you see it, mark as spam. Delete. Delete spam. Goodbye. 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 The narcissist and their flying monkeys are always spam. Always spam. Always. My terseness and failure to just automatically launch in the friendly dialogue pissed her off, as evidenced by her reply. Well, fine. I won't bother you again. Good. See, just by replying, you've now given her the opportunity here. Now you've given her the friggin' hammer to try to come at you with. What's the point? They're not going to change. They never change. Now, as it turns out, I was sewing stacks of masks for people in my community because at the time they were hard to get. No comment on that one. No, it's very nice. It's very nice based on the time. I'm not so heartless as they make as to make hundreds of free masks for strangers, but then not offer to provide any for my narcs. Why? Why would you give them anything? Why are you doing this? You know better. Morbid curiosity? What? Your sister's an asshole. She's a documented asshole. You've been documenting your sister's assholity on this channel for years. I almost called you by your name, but for years. So I replied, I am a community mask maker, so I can send you guys some masks if you like. Jane, yes, I would like some. That same day, I mailed her a box of double-ply, beautiful fabric masks to share with the parents. I did not include a note. I would have taken them down to the hospital and had some COVID people sneeze on them. That's just me, okay? I am a bit of an asshole. I got it, okay? But that's just me. You can't validate yourself to these people. You can't purify yourself with these people. You can't think these people are going to look at you with some empathy here. They're not. They never will. Think about the time that she emailed you. The beginning of COVID. People are out of control. People feel their lives, their futures, their work, it's all out of control. You're locked down. So what is the narc going to do? Oh, well, who can I fuck with? Who can I fuck with? Okay, that same day I mailed her a box of double ply, beautiful fabric masks to share with the parents. I did not include a note. You should include COVID. That's what you should have included. Upon receiving the package, she fired off this snarky email. And this is why. And this is why. Thank you for the mask. At your soonest convenience, please send a bill that includes your cost of labor, materials, and postage, and I will cut you a check. I'm not going to let you do something now. I'm not going to let you. This is why she emailed you in the first place. This is why. Just so she can abuse you. You were basically Postmates for the narc here. You delivered. You delivered like Grubhub or Uber Eats for the narc. Of course. You had to order everything else through there during that fucking pandemic. Why not order your narcissistic supply? Okay? Why not? Fuck it, right? She can't go out and get it. Everybody's locked down. So let me get some narc supply delivered. Awesome. Spam. I did not respond. I'm happy and relieved to report that I have not heard from her since. To understand her motive for contacting me, we have to look back at the precipitating events. Jane declared she wanted no contact with me 2.5 years prior to the email. Her reason was because I was heartless, because I had gone no contact with our parents, and that incensed her. Quite frankly, I was surprised and hurt. To try to keep the door open for any future chance that we could be friends again, I sent her about a dozen short, sweet emails over the course of 2 years. Jesus, why? You're cutting your... What are the rules here? What are the rules here? When you go no contact, you have to cut out every fucking bridge to them, who knowingly will interact with them. She should have been cut out when you cut them out. And when you're finding out why. Whatever friendship you thought you had with her was never real. It was never real. You have to come to this realization That she's just as big of a shitbag, if not worse, than your fucking parents. You have to accept it. You have to. Her motive for contacting with me is we were locked down. You couldn't go out and get what you needed. So just like Postmates and Uber Eats, she had her narc supply delivered to her. They just said hi, hope you're doing well, and sometimes I shared a cute video clip of a cat or dog. This all makes you seem weak. All of it. All of it makes you think I got her right where I want her. I thought of these emails as olive branches. She remained silent. I wrote about this in a previous letter. I don't remember specifically, but I'm sure you did. I'm sure I said the same thing too. In all fairness to her, she did say she wanted no contact. After 2 years, with a heavy heart, I stopped all contact. I had to accept the reality that she wanted nothing to do with me. Oddly, though, when she went silent with me, she also gone silent with my adult son and daughter. Yes, my kids could have called her, but since she made the aggressive move with me, the ball was really in her court to call them. Whatever. At any rate, and the timing is very suspicious here, after I stopped sending her the olive branches, she called my son out of the blue. In that conversation, he mentioned his upcoming graduation, and she told him she would definitely be coming. 4 years prior, we had invited her to our daughter's graduation out of state, and we paid for her posh hotel room and all restaurant expenses. Was it possible that she childishly believed that she would just push her way through the pachyderm herd and insert herself into my family celebration? How did she imagine that would work without first breaking the ice with me? Because you've been sending her these sap-ass emails for 2 years. That's why. That's why she assumed it, because you were sending her the emails. Every bridge back to the narcissist has to go. You have to burn it, because this is what fucking happens. I know you think Sherry thought she was your friend or on your side in some capacity. She never was. Never. Well, what happened next is that the pandemic started to gain momentum. So she seized that opportunity to send me that classic DET email, a fake COVID concern. She assumed that I would be ubiquitously grateful that she was granting me contact. Ultimately, the ceremony was canceled because of COVID, so she did not have to be bothered. I have one more example of DET with a former friend, Rita. In hindsight, the first red flag about Rita is that she is super friendly when you first meet her, too friendly. Rita had worked at the company where my husband, Greg, worked. Actually, the second red flag for Rita that she invented an important sounding title for herself for that former job on LinkedIn instead of stating the correct title, which was secretary. A lot of secretaries do that. Listen, a lot of people lie on LinkedIn. A lot of people lie on LinkedIn. Everybody puffs up their resume to a certain extent, so I don't know how much weight I would put into that, but I mean, I get it. I get it. Because I walked daily and she lived 2 blocks away, worked full time, and had a dog, she hinted that I could walk Clover, and I agreed. I walked Clover daily for about 1.5 years. On days of heavy rain, I still drove over there and let her out to potty and gave her attention and a treat. Then my schedule changed. Some other friends and I decided to join a gym, and the timing of that to coordinate with taking the kids to elementary school was such that I could no longer walk Clover. Because Rita acted so disappointed, I realized that I had probably just damaged our friendship. You see, the fact that I walked the dog for over 1 year did not count for shit once I could no longer do it. I did see Rita on and off around town for the next 2 years, but it was the case that our friendship had cooled. However, I was walking one evening and ran into her with Clover. She was friendly and excited and told me about her pregnancy. It seemed she had forgiven me, and or I had imagined the rift we were like besties again. I took the baby gift over to her and her husband in her 9th month. The next time my husband Greg and I heard from her was when she was sent an email to the work group email list announcing the birth of her daughter. Greg replied to congratulate her and said that we could not wait to see the baby. She fired back an immediate and terse response that said, "We are not receiving guests at this time." Greg wrote back and said, "Of course, I meant in the future." Over the course of the next 6 months, I left several phone messages for Rita, but she did not return my calls. That, combined with her rudeness to Greg in the email, made us wonder if something was wrong with the baby or if Rita was having postpartum depression. We were concerned. When the baby was about 18 months, I spotted her at the counter at Starbucks. I was having coffee with some friends. I was happy to see her well because I had been genuinely worried. I went up to her and said hi and exclaimed that her baby was adorable. She grabbed her coffee and gruffly said that she was in a hurry and rushed out past me, not letting me even get the door for her. So it was crystal clear that she hated me, and I guess Greg too. Obviously, I did not make any further attempts to contact her. 5 years later, Rita called out of the blue in a high-pitched voice, squeaked, "How are you? I haven't heard from you." I said, "I haven't heard from you." She exclaimed that she had just gotten a job after being an at-home mom for 5 years, and we needed to go to lunch next week. She wanted to take me to lunch next week, and it had to be next week before she went back to work. I told her I had a hectic schedule and would need to get back to her. Obviously, I had no intention of reconnecting and was in no way moved by her fake friendliness. She went on to say, "My kids are 5 and 3. I said, "No, Rita, I don't know. I've never met your kids." She called me twice more that week, but I let it go to message. She again repeated that we urgently needed to go to lunch before she went to work. Seriously, she thought me stupid enough to believe that after snubbing me for 5 years, it was now urgent that we get together. Well, she obviously wants something from you. Obviously. That should have been another right to voicemail. If you recognize. Or spam, or whatever. The next time she called, I accidentally picked up and she started making small talk again as there was no elephant in the room. But when she mentioned that the kids were going to be at daycare with my neighbor, Martha Smith, I suddenly knew her ulterior motive. Martha ran a daycare out of her home, and she had a pretty strict policy that the kids had to be picked up at 5 p.m. To have your kids at her house, you had to designate an alternate person who lived near Martha who would come pick up your kids if you got stuck in traffic. The policy was so strict that the alternate had to come with a driver's license to verify proof of residency and sign a contract with Martha, committing to be available every day at the 5 o'clock hour if needed. The alternate had to be retired or an at-home mom. I fit all the criteria. I knew all these details because I looked into Martha for my own kids at one point. Rita jabbered on, unaware that I now knew her ulterior motive. Rita jammered on, unaware that I now knew her ulterior motive. Rita obviously had a lot of nerve and actually believed that it would work to simply use the disappearing elephant gaslighting technique and just act like we were best friends. She thought she could buy me lunch and then innocently ask me for a huge favor. She did leave a final message that said although she tried to have lunch with me, it was now too late as she had started work, and so I had missed out on her lunch offer. True to her high level of narcissism, she needed to get the last word in to state that our failure to reconnect was my fault, and you lost out. And because you didn't do it, this is your consequence. LOL, you can't make this shit up. Treasure trouble. This is what your spam function is for. Communications from the narcissist or the flying monkeys are always spam. Always spam. You save yourself a lot of heartache after no contact, after all this shit. right to spam. Don't even open it. Right to spam, delete. Oh, phone number, right to spam. Right to spam and blocked. Over with. Over with. Done. So, I hope that helps. Thank you so much for another contribution in Story Treasure. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody watching. Please leave any opinions or advice in the comments section below. And again, if you want your story read on the channel, you have a topic you'd like me to cover, something you'd like me to expose, you'd like to set up a Skype phone call, have a private video made, you'd like to sponsor a video like this for someone who needs help and can't afford it, or just make a contribution to the channel in general to keep it supported, growing, and successful, because this channel survives 100% on contributions from all of you. Without you guys, all this goes away. So if you like what you see here and you want to see more videos like this, you know what to do with the PayPal or Zelle and email links in the description box below. Also, please like and share this video wherever you can. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and be sure to click the subscription bell to be notified of all my video uploads. I'm Ollie Matthews. This has been Refuge from Narcissism. Take care.